This is episode 55 of the Gauntlet podcast. My name is Jason.
And I'm Rich.
And I'm Steve.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad we're all here. It's been a while since the three of us have been on all together. Let's just dive right into it. Rich, I gather you have an awesome Dungeon World story you want to tell us.
I do have a pretty cool Dungeon World story. This is my home game, and this is with my 10-year-old son and my wife. Now, my wife and I, we actually, when we met in college, she had gamed before, so it was just kind of a reintroduction type thing, and I thought Dungeon World would be a good game for the three of us to play together. Continuation of the White Wolf story, and this is the one where it's a werewolf spirit that can jump into the bodies of these villagers, right? It's a Circle of Wolves, the fantastic little Patreon that Michael Prescott had put out, a free little one-page deal.
It's a good Patreon, too.
God, it is, man. Oh, my goodness. All of this stuff's so good.
That's the best dollar you'll spend. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Right. And his entry for this year's one-page dungeon contest is gorgeous.
It's got to be the best one because I've seen all the other years' entries.
Yeah.
And you will not be able to convince me his is not the best one. So
it's pretty fly. So, 3 sessions. This is really kind of a one-night game, but seeing as how we play 90 minutes to it, a couple hours tops, and they're slow going. This was the final session of it. And so they had figured out what was going on with the White Wolf jumping through different bodies, and they had met this one hermit who was the servant of this wizard, and the hermit was also marked, so they knew he was one of the potential targets to jump into the White Wolf. And if you remember, there was this story where my son's wizard talked to the spirit, and the wolf said, yeah, when you hurt me, half of it's going to pass through to whoever I've manifested in, and then you're going to kill them, ah ha ha ha. And so they're like, okay, who's going to be our guinea pig? And the hermit says, well, if it'll help the village, the wizard I served, he loved this village, and whatever I can do to serve my wizard, that's what I'd like to do. So like, okay. So they go off to this little area, and then the White Wolf jumps into his body, right? And so they fight the wolf, and it's a great little fight. There's some cool moments back and forth, and as the wolf is going down, like, there are a couple of missed rolls. Their cleric gets his arm half bitten off. And,
go the whole way, just half bitten off.
Well, like below the elbow, shit. So he has like a little, like I'm pointing. He has a few inches after past the elbow.
He's not. Oh, I misunderstood. It's not like hanging off. It's like to the elbow.
It's in the wolf's gullet. Meaning,
that's good. That's for real. Yeah, that's good.
If Wertung the hermit were to wake up, he would have Gerbeg the half-orc cleric in his belly, his arm in his belly. So that happens, and of course that's the cleric. So that's not at all good. And then they finally take down the White Wolf, and so there's this moment where the spirit has been dispersed because they used a silver weapon. It's kind of fulfilled all the stuff they need to do to banish the spirit. And there's Wertung, and he's dying. And it's like, this is the final moment for Wertung the hermit, right? And my son says, oh, I've got a potion of healing. I'll just use that. And of course, he doesn't get like, he just says, potion of healing, I'm going to help the guy. And my wife is like, no! So there's a moment where she's like, but what about Gerbeg, our party cleric? You need to help him. And he says, but he's dying. And my wife says, but look, he looks happy. He's happy. He wanted to help the people. She's got that old like D&D mindset of like, do not waste the potion on the NPC that doesn't matter anymore. And my son's totally like, but he's dying. It was such a great little back and forth.
It's so good. Yeah, it's good.
And finally he says, oh, okay, mommy, I'll help the cleric.
Nice.
And he was bummed for like another half hour afterwards. He talked to me about it the next morning. So Wertung died, and we were taking him to school. So Wertung's dead? So yeah, but he fulfilled his purpose. He's like, what do you mean? And so it's like this whole long conversation from a Dungeon World game. It was pretty neat. It was pretty cool.
I love a little bit of bleed like that, not because I want people to like feel bad or whatever, right? Like in a game. But I think it means that you did well, right? In the session. I feel like if you get just a little bit touch of bleed, right? So, just while we're talking about it, Issa from Gauntlet UK, he played World of Dungeons with us the other day, and I'm not trying to compare Issa's emotional fortitude to that of a 10-year-old, but we had a situation where this kind of like hapless NPC who was a hireling of the party got murdered at the end, and like you could tell Issa was like genuinely bummed out about it, like for like 5 or 10 minutes, like he was really like bummed about it, and he even said so. He's like, I just feel like genuinely bad about that character dying, and I was like, and to me it was like, yes. Good. This is good. No, it was fun. Awesome. Cool. I love that you took a character's hand. That's awesome. When in face-to-face Houston Gauntlet, we used to have a little running joke of like that I collected hands as a GM.
Nice. Yeah, and it's a half orc, so of course, he's slightly sad, so I decided to kind of flip the reaction. So Gerbeck's like, no, wait, this is fine. I could just get an awesome hook. This is cool.
Nice. Now it's kind of a 3/7 orc, right? Sorry, that was bad. Is there anything else you want to say about it, Rich?
No, I'm good. All
right, cool. It's a good story. I got a chance to play Lovecraftesque recently on Hangouts. We've talked about Lovecraftesque before, so I'm not going to belabor the rules or anything. Just a quick overview. It is a story game for like 4 or 5 people in which you are each controlling there is just a single witness character, a single protagonist, and you are crafting this Lovecraftian style mystery for them. You go through certain numbers of scenes, collecting clues, and then at the end you face the final horror, right? We've talked about it before. I definitely recommend people go listen to those other episodes for a more in-depth coverage of it. But a couple things that happened in this game that I was super happy with. We'd been having some trouble playing it online because in an online space, it was a little tricky to manage the sort of rhythm of the game, which kind of requires that you kind of essentially have like 3 GMs at a time, kind of directing the story. Yeah. So like, I'm the narrator, I speak, I do my thing, and then the watchers each take their turn to speak and do a thing if they have something to say. And and online, it was a little choppy to manage. And so what we did is we started to do just like a real simple, like finger raising thing where we'd raise up 2 fingers on camera if somebody had something they needed to say. And it worked really well. Like it was a really great, easy, elegant solution to that problem. So if you're going to play Lovecraftesque, listeners, and you online and you think that might be a concern, I recommend doing something like that. It worked really well for us. The other thing I wanted to say about it real quickly, I was really happy with a certain aspect of the game that before had not really sung for me, but this session, for whatever reason, it really did. So as you're collecting clues, after every scene, you get a clue, right? And you take a minute after the scene to do what's called jumping to conclusions or leaping to conclusions, where you each privately think about all the clues that have been revealed so far and also the context of what's happened in the game. And you basically write down your theory about what you think the final horror is. And I really gelled with that part of the game this time because it was kind of forcing me to think really critically about everything that had happened so far and everything that we knew in the game. And I like doing that just in general. Like when I prep a game, I like to think about, I make an NPC and then I think about lots of different like vectors of that NPC's condition, right? And kind of what that might mean for how I roleplay them, right? And so I like that kind of thinking just anyway. And so I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that little part of the game this time. This little just stop, take a minute, think about what's happened so far. Don't just barrel forward to the next thing. Think about what's happened so far and come to some sort of theory. And then it serves a nice practical purpose too, because you're collaboratively creating this mystery. There's not like a predetermined mystery or resolution. And so it kind of is nice to have some time to think about said mystery so that you can, kind of frame your scenes a little more effectively going forward. So Lovecraftesque, I'm really into it.
And you're each doing your own theories regarding regarding the clues that have come up, right?
Yeah. And and it's just a few minutes. You just spend like 3 or 4 minutes doing it, and you each have your own personal theory. And at the end, at the very end, if one of you is happy with the present version of your theory, you can jump in and make your theory the thing that was the truth, right?
Yeah.
It's really fun. I think it's a neat little way of engaging the established fiction, but kind of like in real time.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But not like in the sense that you're like role playing and trying to like, doing RP stuff. It's more of like a meta, thing that I kind of like. And also, while you're doing that, it gives the next narrator time to think of the next clue. So, because they have to think of their clue before they frame their scene. So,
okay.
Yeah. So it serves like a nice little purpose there too.
Is it the group consensus then that says this thing is true? Like whichever the group likes most? Is that how it goes?
No, it's not. In fact, every game I've played so far of Lovecraftesque, and that's been about 4 or 5, there's always this moment at the end when the final horror is about to happen where there's a little bit of hesitancy, like because people are kind of a little hesitant to be the person that says my thing was the thing, and but there's something about that tension that I like. I like that sort of like, well, what do you think? What do you think? Who's going to do it? Who's going to jump in and make it be the thing? Now, you still get to discuss all the other theories after it's over. But no, there's just one person's theory that ends up being true.
So I've been trying to get Lovecraftesque to the table for probably months now. My Wednesday group, it's usually me and 2 or 3 friends. And I've been trying week after week, and something always thwarts me. Like I showed up just ready to go. Let's do this right now. And suddenly there are 2 new people who have never shown up before, and there's 6 players, and it's just, that's not going to work.
Right,
and next week, don't worry, I'm ready to go. We got printouts. We're working on it. We are creating the setting. Oh, my friend suddenly feels sick. I cannot get this, I can't get this thing to the table for the life of me. And so in preparing and trying to get ready to play the game, bring it to the table, I watched an actual play of it, actually, put up on YouTube by Sarah Richardson. And between doing that and like reading through the rules, I don't quite know what to expect from what you were talking about, from writing down your theories, that sort of thing. And it's the type of thing that's nebulous enough when the authors are explaining the rules that I feel like I need a concrete example. In your game, do you remember a succession of, or a couple of theories you had mid-game that, where things changed between clues?
Like, in the beginning, you just have one clue, right?
Yeah.
So you just kind of throw something out there, essentially, right? You're like, okay, what's our clue? Green sludge found at the base of this tree. Okay.
Right.
So, but you have to go ahead and think of the whole conclusion. Well, clearly it's a multicolored gelatinous horror that lives beneath the village, right? But then like the next clue might be, ritualistic chanting heard in the woods, nearby. And so now you have to kind of account for that, right? And so you just keep like making, like marginal changes to your theory to incorporate all the new stuff until you end up with the your final theory. Now it gets a little, like sometimes you're like, oh man, I just don't know what to do with this one thing, like I've got this clue now and I have no fucking clue what to do with it. But I don't know, to me, I like it. I like the creative constraint of that and being forced to really, really think hard about what that one fucking clue means. And I also think it kind of fits the sort of theme of the game because it's a game about investigation. And, I'm really into games like that. So it probably speaks to me especially, if you recall, I was one of the first really big, like, champions of Lovecraftesque, right? And, that I think is, because it just so speaks to the kind of role playing I like to do.
Right. So how long have you found games running?
Well, so this last one went a little longer than I thought it was going to. We even had to extend the session a little bit to finish up. So probably like 3.5 hours, I guess.
Oh, okay. That's not bad. All right.
Yeah, no, it's not that bad. Awesome. I don't have anything else to say about it. So,
yeah.
But it's still a great game. I think people should check it out. If for no other reason, then I wrote a scenario for it. That's not the best reason to check it out, but it's a reason. So, it's pretty awesome.
One day I'll get it to the table.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about World of Dungeons. Steve, you want to set up World of Dungeons?
Yeah. So this past Sunday, Jason, you ran World of Dungeons for me and a couple of other players. Yeah. And first time for me, I know you've played, or you've run several games of World of Dungeons before, right?
Oh, I have. Yeah. Plenty.
Yeah. Okay. And we were playing through a scenario where our characters, there were only 3 players, and we were hunting down a person and encountered, there were 3 locations where he could plausibly have gone, and we ended up visiting all of them in turn and discovering a village that had been sort of slowly dying from basically a demon, long story short.
A bad deal with a false deity.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me first defend Issa a little bit. Yeah, because earlier you mentioned where Issa was feeling pretty sad about a character who died. It wasn't just a character who died. Yeah. It was, he lost a die roll and got overtaken, and then he smothered that character in his sleep.
Right, yeah, that's true. I forgot to mention that part. Issa's
he felt bad about murdering somebody, yeah.
Wow, the context has changed.
Well, I was leaving that part out, but that was a great moment, though. Did you think that was a great moment? I loved that moment.
Yeah.
It was so good. I mean, it was like horror movie good, I thought. I thought it was great. Because
we all, this was our hireling, this was our torchbearer, 2 silver pieces. Good job, Pate. Who had sort of, I'd kind of grown to like the guy through the course of our adventure. And then as we're drifting off to sleep, you had us roll to resist the, sort of...
There's a scarecrow outside making everybody freak out about Pate.
Yeah. Like the implanted paranoia that we suddenly had about Pate for no real reason. And Issa fails his roll, smothers the guy in his sleep. But don't worry, dear listeners, we all got thoroughly punished because, cut to 30 minutes later,
it was like 10 minutes later. It wasn't even 30 minutes later.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't even that long. Yeah. Just a series of bad rolls and TPK. All of us died.
TPK.
Everybody dead.
Yeah. TPK.
Whoa.
Like 10 minutes later, and like and it took about 45 seconds, and the whole party was dead.
Yeah, really.
All done for. But it was the end. I will say that, like, mechanically, I really love World of Dungeons. We should mention that it's John Harper's sort of like really scaled back 1979 version of Dungeon World, right? The little joke being, it was originally a Kickstarter goal or Kickstarter stretch goal. And the little joke was, if Dungeon World was Dungeons and Dragons, this would be the version of Dungeon World that we got back in the late 70s, right? And, so it's sort of a deconstructed version of Dungeon World, right?
Yeah.
I really like it though, because I tell you what, when you're playing full-on Dungeon World or like just any PBTA game that has a shit ton of moves, you feel a certain constraint as the GM because you feel like I've got to have situations where the players get to use all these moves, right? So there's a certain like constraint there because it's like, okay, this character's playing a cleric. One of their big things is they turn undead. I better put a zombie in here, right? Like you have that there's like this certain, and for me anyway, I feel like a little pressure of like, okay, I have to make sure there are things that speak to the strengths of each of these characters. But World of Dungeons just has one move. It's just defy danger, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
And there's something about that that's really liberating, like in terms of your prep, in terms of like just how you interact with the game between like you vis-a-vis the players. It's so wide open, but still follows the basic, high result, middle result, low result of Apocalypse World. It just creates a nice like give and take at the table that I really love. And it feels very, it feels like a very just like liberating,
And it has skills without being like complex. If you have a relevant skill in a situation, you make your roll as normal. It's just that you can't fail. Like a 6- counts as a 7 to 9 with slightly worse.
It's like a little harder 7 to 9.
Yeah.
If you have the skill, which I think is a great touch. Yeah, really cool
and it's super easy. In playing it, it felt a lot like Dungeon World meets Lasers and Feelings.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid analogy, actually, or comparison. I tend to agree. I like it a lot. And one thing I've discovered that I liked about it, the last few times I've run it, I have taken the adventure that I put together for World of Dungeons, and I've used that as almost like a testing ground for a more fleshed out Dungeon World version later.
Oh,
and,
okay.
That's working really great. Like that, I would say like 3 or 4 of my Dungeon World things that Rich will tease me that I've run like 18 times or whatever, right? They had their genesis in World of Dungeons, right? Like we did like a real sketchy, loose World of Dungeons version just to see if the themes worked, just to see if like I was happy with the encounters and the basic kind of structure, right? So, and I'm doing that again. I really, really loved this one that we did the other day. And so I'm going to turn it into a more fleshed out, version. I was quite happy with the structure of this one. I'm getting into horrible, boring GM prep talk now, but what I had done was I was really focused on making sure you guys got a full adventure in the single session that we had. And so I created 3 basic areas in this like rural setting. And so long as you went to at least 2 of them over the course of this session, you got a full adventure and you got most of the story. If you managed to make it to all 3, you got the full complete story that was kind of behind it. And also I left lots of gaps so that I could easily incorporate the answers to the questions I'd posed to you guys earlier in the session, So I was really happy with my prep on that one, like the way just the different moving pieces that I'd kind of laid out. And I'm really excited to flesh it out and make it a bigger thing that I will run 12 times over the next 3 years. So I find a thing and I love it. That's what I do.
I briefly wanted to touch on World of Dungeons, random stats. And we talked about random stats in an early episode, our old yellers, I think, of role-playing games.
Right. Yeah.
And wow, that's a long time back.
It was a long time ago. Yeah.
And one of the, I mentioned random stats as, one of the things I hate and that needs to go the way of the dodo. And a caveat that's true, but that I didn't mention at the time, didn't occur to me at the time, is that if it's a one-shot, I don't give a shit. But if I were to play this game for an extended period of time, that would probably get on my nerves because
definitely right. Yeah.
Yeah. You almost roll an Apocalypse World move in order to determine your stats. You just make straight rolls. A 6- you get a 0 modifier. A 7 or 9 you get a 1. 10 or 11 you get a +2, and 12 you'd get a +3. So here's how my character shaped up: 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. So I get a 1 in charisma, and the first thing. And Jason, the first thing you tell us about our adventure, well, you're not going to really be encountering any NPCs, so,
just keep that in mind.
Straight up, very true, genuine dump stat right there is the one I get my 1 in.
No, I mean, the characters are paper thin. I mean, they are but there were so many times when I probably should have killed you guys, when you took a hit or whatever, but that was not what we were there to do, so I just waited till the end and then did it. But, I mean, yeah. They're not these are not characters built to last,
No.
So,
no.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I had 2 hit points also at the start. So I'm not good at anything, but I've got 2 hit points. It's fine. Our torchbearer was sturdier than me.
So at least I murdered him. All right, cool. All right, let's move on from World of Dungeons. Rich, tell us about how your Monsterhearts Paramount thing wrapped up.
Oh man, 10 sessions worth of Monsterhearts, which is great because I'm used to it in smaller dribs and drabs. And this was it. In the 9th session, well, so Sasha and our characters were at 4 advancements, and then I had 3 XP because we had a Google spreadsheet, right? So we're all on the same, all of our characters are on the same thing. So it's this little tick, 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 tick. Here comes, I'm coming close to my 5th advance. Sasha, how about you? Oh yeah, I just need, if you highlight my heart this game, then I'm totally going to nail it. And then we get to the point in 9th session where, there you go. He gets his 5th advance and it opens up those season advance rules. And it's the part of Monsterhearts that I really wish existed in other Apocalypse Engine games, because that in-season mechanic is so interesting to me. It's permission to step away from the game, or it's less permission. It's more of a commandment of, hey, time limit. You got 1 session. Because once you hit that 5th advance,
story wrapped up. Yeah, get it. You got
1 session. Wrap it up. MC, you need to start pushing all of your plots to tie up. Players, if you've got a thing you wanted to do, you better knock it out the park, because we're ending the season, the session, not the session, the season. The season ends here, and it is so delicious. I've done this 2 different times in Monsterhearts, and it is just fascinating to me to see how everything amps up. And it does it pretty naturally because you have a whole session. It's not, we've got half an hour left, right? It is, get ready. One last session.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was really great. I love that reset button. And it doesn't mean you have to quit. What it means is it's end of season, and we've even done this in the Saturday morning cartoons. People will change playbooks or skins. you can kind of reset. It's a new school year. Maybe one person retires their character to safety, quote unquote, and brings in a new character.
They go back to their keep with their 100 to 1,000 followers and call it a day.
They have made a name level. It was really great. It was fun. This was a group that I joined specifically for Monsterhearts. So as we are like nearing those 5th events, like what are we going to do? And so I'm going to be running Legends of the Elements for them. That Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh yeah.
With PBTA game, which was an interesting real side thing. It's really interesting being the person who's only been a player in the group, and now I'm stepping quote unquote behind the screen, explaining the rules, teaching them this stuff. Yeah. It's a different conversation, and I wouldn't say it's intimidating, but it's definitely different, right? They only know me as an interface as a player, and to kind of take that role.
That's super interesting because for so many years now, I haven't had that experience of like I'm like here with a brand new like group of people who don't know me, right? And that's been really like the closest thing I had to it was I ran something for Gauntlet UK once, and that was like the closest thing I had to, I feel a little like a bit of an outsider, kind of like I don't quite, but I mean, but even then I had the advantage of like, they know the podcast and stuff, right? So, there can be a bit of a social pressure there. I definitely.
This was a group that looked for a new person, so I joined their already extant group.
Oh wow!
So they've been there. They've been doing their thing, right?
Yeah, that can be intimidating.
That can be a little intimidating. Yeah, I mean, because you think about like, well, honestly, I take that back. On our very earliest Gauntlet Hangouts games, there was a bit of a weirdness for me and a few other people because I had some Houston people who were with me, right? And who were doing the Gauntlet Hangouts games. And I was very accustomed to playing with them, right? And I understood the way they played, and I kind of just understood them as players really, really well. And there was always that like, I don't know if these like new Hangouts people are really like feeling this, or if they really get or do they get us? Are they, is this working? So yeah, I get that. I kind of get that for sure. Yeah. It can be very, very,
yeah, it was neat. There was one moment when the GM of the previous, like he'd kind of fallen into that conversational role, and he kept kind of answering questions. And then at one point he goes, and I'm probably kind of doing the MC thing right now. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of are. I got it. It's cool.
It's a thing that happens. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It was good natured. They're very cool group, but it was a weird,
even like, when we played that Masks, SMC that I was in the first couple sessions of that you ran, there were a couple times when I caught myself. And I had to like think to myself, like, oh, hold the fuck up, Jason. Like, you're not running this game. Like, I know you're trying to like drive the story in the way you want it to go, but like, you are not, you're not the MC right now. So, because I had been for like, all these other months leading up to that. So.
With the same people, a lot of the same people.
All the same people, yeah.
Yeah, there was a point where you looked across and you go, oh, tell me more about this so-and-so thing in your background. Like,
well, I actually do think that's good player behavior. That's GPG. But
I actually like that.
I do too. You're being game. You were one of the G's, so it was cool. But it was one of those like, man, that was a good question. I was totally going to ask that. Oh, well, guess I'll have to get faster.
Getting back to that Monsterhearts thing, I'm really happy to hear that works out well because I've never done it. I've never experienced the end of season. I've run shit tons of Monsterhearts and never gotten that far. So that's
man,
pretty cool.
I tell you, it's pretty fantastic, and I do think that if somehow I sneak in to play Taylor again, maybe that'll happen.
Yeah, we always, like you said, like you mentioned, we always kind of do a sort of an ad hoc version of it, but I've never done the like full, like this is the end of the season.
Yeah, we did
thing.
A while back. I did 2 full seasons of Monsterhearts. Like we ran 24 sessions. It's amazing.
Wow, that's great. Yeah.
Good Lord.
Dude, yeah.
Does it even hold up that long? That's
really
impressive.
Oh yeah.
Okay, wow. Okay, yeah. Although I say that, I think we're up to like 12 or 13 on our SMC
easy.
one. So,
yeah, definitely.
Hey, Rich, how long are your Paramount sessions?
Oh my God, they're marathons. They're like 4 hours.
I love how you think that's a marathon.
It's a marathon on Hangouts. Like face to face, it's not. Yeah. But man, dial in for 4 hours on a Hangout. I got to take a break every like hour and 10 minutes or something. Like, cause it just, my ears will hurt and I'm all like, I got to get in cause you have to stay in the camera frame and it's just, it's intense.
Love those marathon sessions. Cool. Is there anything else you want to say about it, Rich?
No, I'm good.
Cool. I want to just talk about a couple other things I did this week real quickly. I got a chance, just one thing really. I got a chance to play a playtest of a game by Eloy Lasanta called Sins of the Father RPG. I'm not going to talk about it, about the rules because it was a playtest. I do want to just touch on the very, very cool theme. In Sins of the Father, you play essentially the Infernal from Monsterhearts. You're a person who has struck a deal with like a demon, a dark power. They even call it a dark power in Sins of the Father. But it's not that you struck the deal. It's your like ancestors that struck the deal. And you are essentially like every generation, in order to get more and more power from the dark power, they keep just like committing the souls of their brand new children to the dark power as well. And so the game, the big theme of the game is like, will you continue to like carry on this dark legacy, or will you be the one to break free from it? Right. And, it was a really cool, thematically a really cool game. Our session was quite fun. I think we were blowing the tone a little bit because just the assortment of people I had, because we were kind of like trying to learn the game, it kind of just led to like gonzo or funny play. So I was not so super happy about that, but we had a good time, so I can't really complain too much. It's also meant for like long-term, generational play, even like you play like, your character's grandkids at some point or whatever, right? So we didn't really get the quite full experience, but I just want to throw that out there. It might be something that people keep their eyes open for in the future. So,
how long do you devote to each generation? Is it like a session per generation?
I didn't even read that part of the rules because I knew we weren't going to be able to do it. So
okay.
So I don't know. I just kind of saw that it was a thing, but I didn't actually go into it. I was just mostly focused on let's try out character creation. It has like sort of a chart-based character creation, which you'll either love or hate, I think, depending on how you feel about things like that. And also just kind of mastering the basic mechanics. That's kind of what I was focused on. So,
yeah, I love the generational play idea. I've seen, that pop up in like vampire based games or like Pendragon has a campaign that focuses on that, but never actually gotten to. But yeah, it's a really cool idea.
Yeah, for sure. I like it theoretically. I think, the Song of Ice and Fire game is supposed to do that as well. I think it has some aspect of that, if I'm not mistaken, but, I could be wrong.
That was one of my favorite parts of No Country for Old Kobolds is the generational aspect.
Right, yeah.
It's pretty hilarious.
Stakes are a little lower there, right?
I think that finally has a final version now. I can actually theoretically play that.
I also think you mean No Kobolds for Old Men, but okay.
Dang it. I got it right this time.
Okay, well, let's see. Steve, is there anything else you wanted to talk about this week, or if you could?
Not especially.
Star Wars update.
Yeah, I am not giving you a Star Wars update because tomorrow is our final game in the campaign, and I will talk about it after that.
All right, sounds good.
But I finally, like, after 2 years. Oh wait, what's the date? Hold on. Ooh, tomorrow is my 2-year anniversary with the Gauntlet. After 2 years with the Gauntlet, and
you get your gold pen.
So there've been regular Wednesday night things going on the whole time, and the one time I tried to make it, I got into a car accident like a mile away from the place. So this past Wednesday, I finally got to go out to Jack's Grill or whatever the place where they do.
Never been. Yeah, that's really funny. Right. Actually, that you never made.
I finally show up and they're just playing board games. So we all we did was play board games that not only I've talked about on the podcast, but I've talked about really recently on the podcast. Right. So no, that's all.
Sounds good. Well, Steve or Rich, why don't you take us out with your High Strung game? I know you wrapped that up, right?
You bet. Yeah, we've wrapped it up. It's again one of those every month I run 2 shots of a different game. None of them powered by the apocalypse because I'm trying to break out of my thing.
Bad timing. You just started a brand new podcast about it. That's all. No big deal.
Well, I could just talk about how I could use this other stuff to make custom moves or something. I don't know. Yeah. High Strung is the garage band, the RPG, and we had one player who couldn't like he wasn't able to sign up for both, or, River was able to join us. So we got to bring in a new player character to the group, which worked really seamlessly. Again,
I like River
very
a lot.
giving.
River's good people.
Yeah, River's awesome. And so that was fun. There was, an aspect of the game system that I didn't quite get that, Clash, the designer, informed me I just misinterpreted. There was a thing where there are 3 aspects to every gig. You play at a club, you have a gig, you go out and you try to increase your draw to make people show up. Then you have 2 aspects to the actual gig itself. One is how well musically did you do, and then how great was the show that you put on. And there are 4 slots in each of the show parts and the performance parts. And so people were making their characters to make sure you could slot in and fill each niche, right? And it's a life path system to where you don't really have the ability to fill all the niches. And the kind of part we were grinding up against is, well, I really kind of suck at this part of this, but I'm better at it than you, or everybody else is better at their particular part of this 4-part thing. And so, it's like, okay, fine, I will be the person who does this part of the performance because I am less sucky than everybody else. Turns out that wasn't clear to me, but within the rules, you can overlap, people can help each other out, you can have 2 people jump in, you can do multiple parts, which really widen the scope. And dang, if I want to get back to the table again with that broader understanding.
Yeah, it's the worst when you you're into something and it doesn't quite sing, and then you figure out it was your fault. Like, that's the worst.
It's like a total doof.
It sucks.
It was, but again, it's a neat game. I love the modern setting. I love the idea of playing gigs that the economy is based on hope, which grinds away if you're not doing gigs and
that's good.
So it's really sharp. It's a sharp little game. I like it. I think I could scale back a few, I think I may homebrew and file away a few little bits. There's this PvP mechanic that nobody ever used, so I don't know if that's even something I would concern myself with. But all in all, the game's really interesting. I'm hoping that I can get it to the table again soon.
I'm loving the assortment of games you're doing on Gauntlet City Limits right now, because like you said, they're not powered by the Apocalypse games, which is really something I'm also looking at a lot in my calendar. Like, where can I fit in games that are not PBTA? I love PBTA, don't get me wrong, but I feel like part of me feels like if you're one of these just really creative people who decided to go out and make a game that wasn't PBTA, everyone's so into PBTA that you're kind of, maybe you're getting your stuff's getting lost in the shuffle a little bit, so I'm really loving that aspect of GCL. And also just that thematically these games are all quite varied, so I think it's neat. I think it's super. I wish I was doing it actually, but maybe I can, because if you're going to move it to Tuesdays,
right? I am moving it to Tuesdays, Jason. You're welcome, as long as you let me run the game.
I'd have to fit. Yeah, I'd have to do some real hard selling to convince Rich to let me do that. But cool. Is there anything else you want to say about High Strung?
No, just to say that Tokyo Brain Pop is coming up next month, and I'm
see what I mean.
Stoked.
That's so what could be more different, right? Yeah, it's awesome.
Right.
Yeah, you're playing games I haven't heard anything about, basically. Maybe I've heard of them at most. So it's really interesting to hear your thoughts on the stuff you're running on Tuesdays or Wednesdays.
I'm glad we're able to talk about it too, because I think it's I think that's a great purpose we've always served on the show, is to kind of bring stuff to people's attention. So
yeah.
I was going to say, when you said that thing about hope being a thing you have to maintain, it depends on your gigs and stuff. Having lived in Austin for 7 or 8 years, that is so I get that. That makes so much sense, just that, because I have so many musician friends. That really, really makes a lot of sense to me. So,
just to speak specifically about the hope, it reminds me a little bit of some of the economy of Blades in the Dark that I found fascinating. That you do a crime to get a coin, then you participate in your vice will lend you the ability to recover some of your stress, but it also puts you deep in pockets, so you have to get more coins, so you got to go back and do your crime. It's kind of cool.
Cool. Awesome. All right, let's do community feedback. Hey, it's time for community feedback. Rich, what do you have from the community that you want to talk about?
I thought it was pretty cool that Issa Wills posted up a character pic that he had been licensed by Dirk Leichty, the guy who's doing your cool Three Kings dealie.
Oh yeah, the art, yeah, it's done. Yeah, it looks really good. It's pretty.
That's awesome. I just wanted to share that. I thought that character pic was really cool. I love people who license pictures of characters. I love when Strung Cook puts up stuff that he's done, and
right.
And I've got a few. I actually have up at my cube. I have licensed art.
Yeah, you do that too. Yeah, I've seen some of your. You had like that, like some sci-fi people once. I remember seeing that.
Star Warsy people. I know.
Yeah. So well, that's where I got the idea. I was like, oh, I should get some art commissioned for the Company of Three Kings.
That's the best. It's just so cool.
Well, and like, honestly, like Dirk's. Like, you know, he's pretty reasonable too. He's it's not free, but like, you know, if you're willing to shell out a little bit of money, you get a really nice piece at the end. So I think.
Yeah, they always come out looking good.
All right, just do without Cheetos for 4 game sessions. You paid for it. I think the art's really, I love it. It's gorgeous. It's evocative. This is a neat sketch of a character. I get a lot of the attitude and personality from it in just one quick snapshot. It's awesome.
It does kind of look like he's standing in front of the Death Star.
Okay, yeah, it does.
That's why you both like it, isn't it? Just say it.
It's a plus in my book.
No.
Right. It totally is.
I love his lines. That's what I like about Dirk's art. He does these beautiful, just like, I love his pen strokes. Like, I love the way they add texture and movement. I've always been really into it. So,
yeah,
big fan. We'll put a link to that and also to Dirk's Patreon as well. Cool. I wanted to just give a real quick shout out to Jacob Densford, who's an old Houston player who's moved back to Ohio recently, and he started up Gauntlet Rubber City. Rubber City, I think, is the nickname of Dayton, Ohio, possibly. Maybe Akron. I don't know. Some city in Ohio.
Those are the only 2 cities in Ohio, so it's one of the 2.
Yeah, I only know a couple. And
Columbus and Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, Cleveland. Okay, yeah, there's a bunch. Okay, so anyway, Gauntlet Rubber City. He's been posting about that, and it seems like it's going great. They've done Final Girl. They've done 44, Game of Automatic Fear. He's got all of his players are like deep dyed-in-the-wool D&D and Pathfinder people, but he's bringing them over to indie games, so that's pretty sweet, and I love it. So if you're from Ohio, and I think it's Northeast Ohio, and you're interested, I'll put you in touch with Jacob. It sounds like they're doing some cool shit over there. And then finally, just another quick note. This is becoming the tour show. It's becoming the tour show.
I'm not opposed.
It's at least the tour segment of the show.
Yeah, the tour segment. So last week,
ladies and gentlemen, it is now tour time.
Tour time. Yes. It's good. So last week we talked about one of Tor's stories, playing games with his kid. And this, recently, for this week, he posted a story about going to his, local game stores, gaming meetup, and it's all like D&D Pathfinder. And he showed up with The Warren, by Marshall Miller, which is the rabbit game. And, he didn't have like high hopes for how it was going to go, but he got some players in there. I love the way he describes like the players like talking about their relationship to rabbits or something, and like, and he's like, yeah, I can work with that. Let's do it. Okay, Monty Python reference, sure. Let's. That's enough for me. Let's just play. He also, I'm very partial to the story because he made an NPC of mine that's on Discern Realities, Eotho Bruno, into a rabbit. He made a rabbit version of Eotho.
I forgot about that.
And I love it. Yeah. So, that character, by the way, is like, I get so many casual, like, attaboys about that character, like, last, like, 2 or 3 weeks. So, people like Eotho. So it was kind of funny to see a rabbit version of Eotho they had to like fetch lettuce for him. Right. So, I thought that's pretty fun. Yeah, that's it. We'll put a link to the story. As always, Tor's a really sharp writer, and it was a fun read.
Yeah. Eotho works as a character really well over an audio medium, because you verbally, and well, I say audioly because some of it's sound effects too. You communicate
orally,
right? Orally and aurally, whatever. Communicate the fattest person alive very successfully.
Yeah. Have you listened to the newest episode of DR?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I won't say, but there's a whole like reason for all that, right? So,
right.
That will stay unspoilery for people, but I really love that character. I thought about that character. I put a lot of thought into that character, and so I really love that he's like coming across well to listeners. So yeah, it's gratifying.
I'm especially a fan of your whenever he claps, you manage to make it sound like somehow there's 5 extra pounds of fat on your hands.
I've thought about every aspect of it. Yeah. It's like this. It's like that because he can't get his hands all the way together, right? So all he can do is okay. Cool. This is a fun episode, guys.
Yeah, I agree.
So Steve, thanks so much.
Yeah, you bet.
Oh, I didn't do the outro. Fuck. You can leave that in. It's my punishment for not doing the outro. Hey, listeners, that's our show. If you want to come find us, we have a website now. It's www.gauntlet-rpg.com. That website contains links to all 3 of our shows, plus one forward, Discern Realities, and this show, as well as links to our Houston meetup, our New Jersey meetup, and our online meetup, where we run dozens and dozens of games online, and you can come play with us. That's all I've got. Steve, thanks so much.
You bet.
Rich, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Listeners, thanks for listening. Take care.
Stephen Watkins was pointing out, because that man has the worst luck in the world, that I don't think I mentioned it when I talked about Cyrun, but that Cyrun game we were in Owlcon, he stands up to warn the rest of the table who don't know him, but he's like, okay, Steve knows this, but I should warn the rest of you before I actually roll. I have the worst luck in the world. And then like 4 minutes later, he's picking up the dice for his first roll. 6, 1, 1, 1, 1.
You just die instantly. That's terrible.
Very beginning of the game.
The chasers are here and we're all fucked. All right, yeah.